us in, babe.
Welcome to Coco Caliente.
So welcome to Coco Caliente, another lovely edition of Coconuts and I bringing you our life in the forefront. And when it's not just our life, we have guests too. We have a guest today, actually.
Yeah, we do.
One that'll pick your brain as much as I pick my brain all the time, and I pick Nicole's brain all the time. Katie Morton.
Yeah.
Very interesting person. But before we get to that, Nicole, I want you to tell me something about yourself that I don't know. I know we've been together for a while.
Well, how do I know? Maybe I can ask you if you know something, and then you say no, and then I can say it.
Or just tell me something interesting about your childhood that I didn't know before. And this is a cool, because Nicole didn't know that I was going to ask for this right now. And this is a cool discovery moment for us. And she's not happy. She's looking at me in anger. Because I put her on the spot, because I enjoy doing this because it makes it real and raw. All right, go ahead.
As a child, I waited. Do you know what a Beanie Baby is?
Beanie Baby. Yes.
Well, me and
the little stuffed.
Yes.
Okay.
Let's say like TY.
Yeah. Okay.
Me and my mom would collect them, and we would travel and wait out in the storefront, waiting for the doors to open around 5 a.m., waiting for the new Beanie Baby edition.
Really?
Yeah, did you know that?
4 a.m.?
Well, whatever. Yeah, the lines were long, man.
Gee, I
have them all. They're in the basement.
Are they collectibles now?
I don't know. I think some of them are worth a lot of money and some are not.
That's crazy, because I remember when Beanie Baby, that has the TY on the ear thing. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I remember when I was a kid. And we had a few of them, and I remember it was a huge fad, but never to the extent of waiting out for the next edition to come out. I remember like the Chihuahua, you know, the little, and
they're cute. Some were actually kind of ugly, but we still got them. It wasn't by what they looked like. It was like, oh, this is a new one. And then there was like tag savers, because if the tags get bent or ruined, they're not worth anything. That's what we thought back in the day.
Like the plastic cap, the cap that goes over the...
Yep, so we would buy those. I wasn't allowed to like play with them much. Sometimes they'd be in globes.
Oh my gosh.
That would like break open in the middle, and then out would come your Beanie Baby. I actually think we sold some at a craft show before, because... So people, they would sell out, like, say, 20 minutes after the store opened. And unless you were in that line,
you're not going to get one.
They were like Hallmark stores. You would not get one. So some people would maybe buy 10 and then sell them.
Did you do that?
I remember sitting at a craft show, and I don't know who I was with. If it might have been my friend's mom was really into it as well. And what they did was, I don't know if my mom was in this too. Probably. I think I was actually just sitting with her friend, but they'd put them in the pretty globes and make them really pretty and put ribbons, and so they'd be like a dressed up present, like ready to give someone.
Okay.
So it's not like you'd profit much off of them, but it was like it's a ready to give present.
That's interesting.
And so they would sell those at the craft bazaars.
That's great, because I do remember that. Mm-hmm. But you know another fad that I remember? Do you remember when Furbies came out?
Yeah, but I never got one.
You never got one?
I don't even... No, I do not remember the fad either.
Furby looked like a little gremlin bird.
Right.
I don't know. And then it was like mechanical, like the eyes open and shut. And
I know that because they were a fad again maybe 5 years ago when Isabel and Chris and Carson... They got
Furbies?
Them, yes.
Really?
They became it again when I was in college.
Oh my gosh.
My grandma got them for my cousins, and I was like, what? She's like, yeah, they're back. So anyways, what were they like when you were a kid?
It was... We actually lived in Central America, in Panama, I believe, when they came out, and my parents got us one or two. We each got one, and we were so excited. But then I remember mine wouldn't stop making noises, and I put it downstairs because it was freaking me out. And then even from downstairs, you can hear it, like Furby.
That reminds me of the story Phil told us in the cab. Remember?
What was the story that he told?
Remember about the doll making all those noises?
Oh, yeah.
That was a funny story.
And he was telling his daughter that it's not true or whatever, and then it actually kept making noises.
Yeah, and he was like, this thing's haunted. Anyway, so you kept hearing it from the basement, and it was freaking you out?
Yeah, it freaked me out, and then after that, I didn't want a Furby anymore. But there was... I remember, like, so many toys were...
I loved Polly Pockets.
Polly
Pockets. I love anything tiny, and they were my favorite thing. Like, I was obsessed with them. And now I don't know if... I think they came back, but They are kind of a choking hazard.
I don't know. Okay, so because I'm not obviously a kid anymore, right? So I don't keep up with the new toys.
Yeah.
But toys, I feel like then were a much bigger deal than they are now because we don't have the advent of YouTube and all this social media to keep us entertained. So back then it was our toys. Like
the good old days.
I remember when Tamagotchis. You remember the Tamagotchi?
I don't know what that is.
You don't know what that is?
No.
It's like it looked like a little egg that was on your keychain, and then you had to feed your Tamagotchi. You had to play with it and do stuff, and your Tamagotchi can die.
No, but what were those little things with the buttons?
The buttons.
Okay, so it was like a little circle digit thing, and you had to feed, when you said feed them, you had to like feed these things.
Yeah, I think that's the Tamagotchi.
Okay.
That's
What's
what
another
I mean.
name for it?
I don't know.
I did not hear.
But it was like a pet. It was like a pet, and then it had like 3 buttons on this. I don't know how many buttons it had, but you had to feed it and you had to do stuff with it, and whatever.
Okay, yes, those are called something else to me because a Tamagotchi is something I never heard, but I definitely had one of those for sure.
And I don't know if it was like a dinosaur or something, but I remember having.
They can be all sorts of things. I think.
Yeah.
You know what I really liked too was the things that you would put in the bathtub. They'd be like a tiny foot or a tiny
or a dinosaur or an
and it
animal.
would just like expand and get big. I was obsessed.
What we would do is we'd put them in a big in a 2-liter bottle with water and just drop them in, and they grow to the size of a 2-liter.
You gotta like cut it out.
Well, no, you would just leave it in there. That was the fun of it. Yeah, little things like that. I remember one of the funnest things I had. Do you remember those little birds that the beak would balance itself? So you'd put the little bird, right, and it had a long beak, and you'd put the beak like on your finger on the corner of a table, and then the bird itself like would balance itself out, like the weight distribution.
I don't remember those either. We had different toys. I mean, I had a lot of Barbies.
Yeah,
Barbies were my thing too. I loved like the outfits and stuff. I'd say Polly Pockets were my number one. But what else?
I 100% had a Buzz Lightyear and a Woody.
Did you?
Yes, I did. Those are some of my favorite toys.
I had the tall dolls that were like as tall as me. That you could like... I would like dance with her. She had these big outfits. She could comb her hair. She was like a lifestyle doll. Like,
so how did you...
She was probably like 4 foot.
Wow, so you just brought her around everywhere you went?
No, she would stay in my room. I remember exactly what she looked like too. Blonde, like a blue dress, kind of like Cinderella, I would say. But that was a big deal too, because you could put makeup on her. I don't know if you're supposed to, but we did. Oh man. And Jesse and I would do we would make our own arcade in the basement, where we would come with like the $5. He always had so much money. He was like saving his money from all his birthdays. He
never spent any money.
He never spent any money. And I would feel so bad. Not at the time, but he'd come with like $50. I'd come with $5. And then we would set up these arcade games, and I'd end up taking his money, and then I'd be like, okay, you can have it back. Like, I felt bad. I think I gave it back. I hope I did, the poor kid. But he'd come to try to win $5, and I'm coming trying to win $50. But
so, and that's another thing, like having a sibling, like you and Jesse are 2 years apart. He's 2 years younger than you. And me and my sister, we're 2 years apart. She's 2 years older than me. So it's
same thing.
Same situation. And it was that, especially when you're younger. When you get older, it's different. Like when you're in like high school and stuff, you have your own friends. You don't really want to hang out with each other because you're doing your own things. But when you're younger, that's who you hang out with all the time, and that's who you're playing with all the time. And I remember just as a kid, all those things, and like even just like being in the car and like me wanting to get fast food or something, and then being like, Dad, Ashley's hungry.
But really you were hungry.
Or just, I don't know, little things like that. And I miss, like, thinking about that now, how simple the times were. Like, I miss hanging out with my sister that much,
Yeah.
But when you get older and then you, like, kind of hate each other for a little bit because everybody's, like, you're so cool in high school and, like, doing your own things, right?
I always protected my brother. I'd say we got along... We fought more when we were like maybe 4 and 6, you know, like because we're the same size, and like wrestling and fighting over toys or something.
Yeah.
But I protected him even when it was like the cool stage.
Yeah.
I freaking had his back. Like I never had that stage. My brother was short for his grade, and then he grew. Now he's taller than all of them, but he got picked on, and I literally beat up his friend. Like, I sat on top of his friend and had to because he was beating up my brother.
Yeah.
So I had to beat him up, but I didn't punch him, but get on top of him and
just manhandle
stop,
him.
you know.
Yeah.
And then I remember having to do that for him. But even in high school, I remember protecting my brother.
Yeah.
It was weird. It was you have one sibling, and you and your sister are very protective of each other as well.
Yeah, we are, for sure.
You just get this, you can pick on me, but don't you even think about picking on my brother. You say one thing, and I'm coming in hot.
And for, me and my sister, when I said in high school, we just had our own sets of friends and stuff and, whatever. And then when she graduated, so she graduated 18, I was still 16, she left because she went to the military.
Yeah.
So then I was basically the only child in the house for 2 years, which was bittersweet. It was nice because basically I lived upstairs by myself, right?
Yeah, my brother went through that too, I guess, with me in college, kind of, right? But your sister couldn't come home at all.
No, she couldn't come home at all.
Yeah.
And for, basic training, she couldn't talk to us at all.
So
and then she was deployed and...
Did you get spoiled when she was gone? Or?
Yeah, pretty much. I got spoiled a lot, and it was nice. But like I said, it was sometimes man,
lonely.
Yeah, exactly. And then now that my sister and I, we live so far apart, it's almost like we're closer than ever because we never see each other, right? So we'll talk on the phone a lot.
Yeah, you do.
And then when we do hang out, it's just all straight up positive. Nothing gets under our skin.
Yeah, because you guys aren't around. You guys, what we discussed is if your family is around each other all the time, all your aunts and uncles and cousins, then you have more to bicker about because it's the small things. But if you only meet up once or twice a year, it's okay, all fun.
Exactly. It's all fun and positive. You don't have anything really to bicker about.
Right.
You know what I mean? We're not in each other's lives intertwined as much to say oh, he did this or he didn't show up to that or he said he was going to give me this and he didn't or, whatever it may be. Or I heard he said this about me. It's well, we're not around each other. So that doesn't happen, and so it works out really well for us. But I do envy the fact that you do have your mom and dad right here and your brother and aunts and uncles and grandparents. But I don't have that.
At least they kind of do a good job being your second family.
Oh, your parents? Yeah, Dave and Jenny.
They treat you like their son for sure.
Yeah, they honestly think I'm their son. They really do. So that's really refreshing. And Jesse's like the little brother. We fight sometimes, but we're good.
Man, you guys have been getting a lot better.
Yeah, we have.
He fights with not everyone, but I feel like everyone I've dated, he just puts up a front.
Now he's good. Now he's really good.
He's really good with you.
Yeah. Well, we're engaged and we have our own home.
He goes out of his way, I feel to be really nice to you.
Yeah, he does. He does.
Something Victor and I have been using and loving is
Native
deodorant.
Yes.
Specifically, we use.
Yeah.
It's formulated without aluminum, parabens, filled with ingredients found in nature, such as coconut oil, shea butter.
That's something. Yeah.
How do you say that?
Shea butter.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's being natural and knowing the ingredients that are in things. It's something that Nicole and I are trying to do more and more. Right, get away from all the processed chemicals and all that stuff.
It's never been tested on animals, which is a big thing.
Cruelty free.
Yep, and free shipping and returns. So there's something for everyone. It comes in a wide variety of enticing scents for men and women. Plus, they release new limited editional seasonal scents throughout the year. So Victor uses the coconut and vanilla, which is the most popular scent, and I use the cucumber and mint. And I love them. They're fresh. And if our listeners want to try for 20% off your first purchase, go to nativedeodorant.com and use promo code COCO, C-O-C-O, during checkout. For 20% off your first purchase, please visit nativedeodorant.com and use promo code COCO during checkout.
But anyway, with that, we really hope you guys enjoy this guest. It's very interesting and fun conversation. Really good insight. These are the type of conversations that I like because I like learning about us and the mind. And just in general, I like learning stuff. I'm a documentary guy. So
enjoy.
All right. So, yeah, like I said, Kati Morton on the show today. Thank you so much for being here. She has a master's in clinical psychology from Pepperdine University. And can you go ahead and just list all your accolades for us? It makes it... There's so many.
I'm a licensed therapist, and I specialize in the treatment of eating disorders and self-injury. And that's why I'm a certified dialectical behavior therapist. And yeah, I have a YouTube channel where I educate about all things mental health related.
Awesome. And that's cool to hear just because that's something that, now is becoming more talked about, which is great, you know, because I feel like a lot of people hide behind that barrier of like, oh, I shouldn't talk about it, I'm not comfortable. So that's awesome that you're doing that. And to start off, I just kind of want to know a little bit of your background and upbringing that kind of brought you to this field. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, when I was a kid, even like in middle school and high school, I really just enjoyed being the secret keeper, which I know sounds weird, but you know what I mean? Like I took pride in obviously knowing all the dirty deets, because who doesn't want to know that? But then I was like, I felt really proud that I was like a vault. Like if someone told me something, it wouldn't leave me. I wouldn't tell anybody else. And I just enjoyed people. I've always enjoyed people. Not that I'm like a complete extrovert, but I just find people as a whole, even myself, to be just very interesting in why we do the things that we do. So I've always kind of been drawn to psychology, I guess. When I was a kid, though, I just didn't really have a word for it, you know, because I didn't really know what that was yet.
Okay.
And I took my first intro to psych class in high school, my senior year, and was hooked ever since. And then, you know, went to get my degree, my undergraduate degree in psychology. And for a while, I actually was minoring in music.
That's interesting.
I know. Yeah. I sang in choir. It helped pay for college. So, you know, that was the most important thing. And then, that's decided that I wanted to go back and get my graduate degree after I worked in the field for a little bit as a counselor. And then my husband, at the time he was my boyfriend, is in film production. And when I had gotten out of graduate school, I was working in this eating disorder treatment center. He had gone to a conference where they're talking about the power of YouTube and social media. And this is like 2010. And so things were still a little relatively new, but people were doing it, you know? And he was like, you should get online and share what you know. People don't talk about that stuff. And I was like, no, that's weird. I was like, isn't that just cat videos? I'm confused. And so after a little, you know, prodding and him giving me links to people like Jenna Marbles and Anna Akana and people who were on YouTube at that time, he sent me some of their videos. He's like, no, people do this. Like, this is a thing. Then we started the channel in late 2011.
Oh, wow. So it's been going on for 8 years now.
Yeah. Time flies. It's really crazy.
That is pretty crazy. And so how do you divvy up your work? Because I know YouTube can be, all time consuming, but you also have a clinic or your own practice in Santa Monica. Is that correct?
Yeah, correct. It's shifted over the years. So when I first started, I think a lot of people now, especially kids, will be like, I want to be a YouTuber and make millions of dollars. It doesn't really work like that, especially for a channel like mine, because there's nothing pop culture necessarily. It's not really viral videos. It's more just educational content. So for the first probably almost 4 years of doing stuff on YouTube, I still had my full-time job. So I worked in a hospital, and then I had my private practice 3 days a week. And then I did YouTube kind of as just like a side gig, like I do in the evenings or weekends.
Okay.
And then it got to be a little bit unmanageable, where it was just taking up more and more time. And about 4 years ago, I was able to quit my full-time job and do only my private practice. And then as patients of mine have kind of graduated out of my practice, I've gone down to 2 half days. Just because it's, it's hard with travel. It becomes unethical for me to see a lot of patients because I'm not around. And so it's just been it shifts over time. And I continue every 3 or 4 months to kind of assess how I'm doing, if I'm still there for my patients. Some of my higher need patients I've referred out just so I make sure they're getting the care that they need when they need it. It's kind of just like a thing I'm always considering, making sure that I'm doing the best I can.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy. I mean, did you ever see yourself as the person you are now? You know what I mean? Like being able to, 2 half days plus all the other work you do, but still that sounds like a dream, right? Like, when you get into that industry, I don't think that's what people assume, right? You're kind of thinking like office every day with people in front of you and kind of the notepad and the lounge chair,
Exactly. Yeah. No. And I mean, this job didn't exist, it's kind of a crazy thing. And I would never have guessed that this would be something I could do, that it even could be a job. Even when I started YouTube, I mean, I don't think people realize this, but for a while when you are creating, you can't make money on YouTube. You have to have a certain amount of subscribers and views. And back then it was more that monetization just didn't really exist.
Yeah.
It wasn't really we couldn't even make thumbnails back then. That was, you know, like, I think people just don't realize how much YouTube has changed and grown over the years. And so when we first started out, it was honestly just a passion project. It was something that I thought could be helpful to people. It was a way for me to expand out of like, oh, I can only see 40 people a week, which most therapists actually see more like 25 to 30.
Okay.
But even if I was able to pack my schedule, I could still only help that many people. And what about the people in the middle of the world who can't find a specialist, or other parts of, you know, in, I don't know, Brazil or anywhere in the world? It's really, that's the really cool thing about putting content online, is you're able to reach millions of people.
Yeah.
It's so powerful.
And even like people that can't afford it, right? They just need some advice in that moment, you know? And
exactly. And it shouldn't be hidden behind a paywall or like accessibility. I mean, I'm fortunate enough to live in LA, so there's tons of therapists and tons of people here, but what if I don't live here? You know?
And interesting enough that you say that, because I just always wondered, is it a place where like people are more successful, it seems like in Los Angeles, and there seems to be a lot of therapists and a lot of work like that? Is there like some correlation to that? I'm just picking my brain over here, trying to pick your brain.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just more people, and we're also like a really affluent area. You know, like you said, like people are super successful, so people have more disposable income. And not to like completely therapize this, but if you look at Maslow's hierarchy of needs, we all have like basic needs, right? We need food, we need shelter, we need clothing, stuff like that.
Okay.
And if those things aren't met, that's all we're going to spend our time and energy trying to get.
Oh,
you know what I mean?
I get what you're saying.
If I'm hungry, I can't do anything else. But if all that is met, because most of us in, you know, cities and in most parts of the world, those needs are met. So we start looking for like purpose and like a greater understanding of life. And so that's when we would really look for therapy. We'll be like, I got to make sense of this. And so I think because in a city center, there's more people, so there's going to be more therapists or more mental health professionals, just because there's more people. But also most people here, their basic needs are met. And so they can start asking those bigger questions.
Yeah, that makes a lot more sense.
Yeah.
And do you miss, just a little bit more on you, do you still do as much research as you used to do, like when you were doing that, the eating disorder research? Or do you miss that stuff that you can't do as much because you're so busy with other things?
I still do all my own research. I probably should find a better way. Even though my videos are more scripted now, like I'm sure my viewers have noticed, like, cause I script them because it used to be such a brain drain for me to shoot a video, because I'd be recalling what I read, and I would legitimately do research, put together my documents, and then read it and then film. And I could only film a couple of videos at a time. And that just got to be really taxing. And so now, instead of just doing my research and like putting bullet points together, I like write out pretty much 3/4 of a script. And then I kind of riff on things that, like, you know, and I found this interesting, like something else will bubble up into my brain when I'm talking. And so that's really helped, but I still do all my own research. It's really time consuming, but I also don't ever want to lose touch. I think that's why I haven't completely let go of my practice, is I don't really want to lose touch with what's going on, how people are really responding. Like, I'm still the person that always comments. Like, I don't have a team. I guess I should just say that.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Yep.
It's just Sean and I, my husband, Sean. He does all the editing and all of the, honestly, more creative thinking, where he's like, we should try this. What about that? We should get an animator. And I'm like, cool. Because I'm definitely not that creative brain. I'm more like, give me a problem and I will solve it.
Analytical, yeah.
Exactly.
Well,
exactly.
Okay. So as we get into the fall season, it's getting into staying inside more and eating more food. And so it's easy to gain weight, but you don't have to wait for the New Year's resolution to start losing weight and get into good habits. And that's why we like to use Noom, because getting in shape is not just the losing weight. It's about learning healthier habits and feeling better about yourself, whether that's more stamina to keep up with your busy life, finally getting into those goal genes, being more in tune with your body's needs, or practicing more self-care. And Noom is able to do this because they're able to help you make healthy choices, give you a little bit more self-worth, give you better mood, control your stress, and anxiety. It's a habit-changing solution that helps users learn to develop a new relationship with food through personalized courses. It's based in psychology. Noom teaches you why you do the things you do and arms you with the tools to break the bad habits and replace them with better ones. They say it's the cognitive behavior approach. I say it just works. And no food is good, bad, or off limits. Noom teaches you moderation and can be used in conjunction with many pre-existing popular diets if you want. So basically, they have everything you need. You can chat with a goal specialist and the Noom community to get and give help to people going through the same things. You don't have to change it all in one day. Small steps make big progress. Sign up for your trial today at Noom, Noom.com/Coco. What do you have to lose? Visit Noom.com/Coco to start your trial today. That's Noom.com/Coco, the last weight loss program you'll need.
And so now that I kind of understand you a little bit more, I want to transition into like stuff that you've learned, which one of the things that I know, I mean, you do everything, but like relationships is a big thing, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And I kind of wanted to know in a broad sense, because this is like a heavy question, but you know, what are like the biggest problems or difficulties that you notice in a relationship?
There's quite a few things. I think the first, and something that I always want to bring up, because as I've been online and as I'm a human too, and in my own therapy, don't think that therapists don't see therapists. We should. I think the biggest issue is like the relationship we have with ourselves.
Okay.
I know a lot of people focus on the outward, and that's what leaves us feeling less than or exhausted or, you know, any kind of bad feeling. I think it's because we don't spend enough time talking more kindly and warmly to ourselves. We have no problem being super nice to other people, but then we shit talk ourselves.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
And you have to like pay attention to that and be a little bit more aware. And then I think when it comes to relationships outside of ourselves, I think communication is the main like linchpin. People are afraid to say what they feel, say what they mean, communicate any upsets, ask questions, seek to understand each other. I talk about that a lot in my book that came out in December. There's like a whole, I want to say it's like 3 full chapters, just kind of about relationships, communication, and how we can stop those same kind of, I don't know, it's like things that trip us up all the time to prevent it from continuing to happen.
Yeah, and I think you're absolutely right, because like, let's just say I get frustrated at Nicole for something, you know, and then if I bottle that up and then, you know, 2 days later I get mad about something that has nothing to do with what she's doing in the moment, but it just brought me back to whatever I was mad about originally.
Yeah,
that could have just been nipped in the bud that same day, you know, 3 days ago.
Yeah, for sure.
Totally. If you just said like, hey, that kind of hurt my feelings, you know, what was going on? You know, you can ask questions. That's kind of, I think, something that has been really helpful for me in my relationships is asking questions and seeking to understand versus assuming, because we can create stories that like aren't true at all.
So and this is kind of funny because you are in a relationship. So are you just constantly analyzing your, does Sean just feel like you're always just like analyzing what he's like, don't do that, you know?
He never says that. He's Irish Catholic. So I think a lot of like what he said about this in general is that like it's taught him a lot.
Okay.
Because he's like, wow, I grew up in a family and era of like, we don't talk about things. We just pretend it didn't happen, you know, and stuff it down deep. He's also Canadian. So he's like, we got to be nice about it, you know? And so I think for him, that's what he said is the greatest learning is that like there are words and names to put to things and that you can actually say stuff and that doesn't make the relationship explode or implode. But I don't really analyze. I mean, I analyze myself, I think, more than anybody or anything else.
Okay.
Because I'm always, I think it's maybe just like why I love doing what I do, but I'm always just trying to find a better way to be me. Like, are there things that I can do that are better? How could I make that work better? How could I be a better friend, better wife, better anything, better therapist? So I think I analyze more of my own stuff than him.
Wow, you sound like borderline Jesus over there, trying to be like the best person, you know? Like, I feel like, you know, as a therapist, that's what you're constantly thinking, right? Because you're constantly trying to help people, so you're trying to make yourself better to help more type of deal.
Well, yeah, and if I'm reading about stuff too, it's kind of like the blessing and the curse of what I have to do online is like I'm constantly challenged, to take feedback, which is hard. It's hard for everybody to take feedback. And then also I'm learning more about certain issues And it doesn't necessarily have to be something that I struggle with as a whole, but I feel like within everything in mental health or mental illness related, you get at least one little nugget where you're like, oh, I could probably do that better. Like, oof.
Yeah.
You know, so that's kind of how I see it. But I'm not perfect at all. Like, I still make mistakes. I get in fights with people. I can be a jerk, you know?
Yeah.
It's just, I just know better.
Oh, for sure. And funny and interesting enough that you said that about that feedback. This is a topic that I was kind of saving for later, but like social media in general, you know, because you're on social media. Mm-hmm. And do you think that's like that openness for people to hide behind a wall and say negative things, and just social media in general, do you think that's like affecting a lot of people negatively, or do you kind of see it like both ways? Like there's such a positive to it, but then there can be mean people out there like there is mean people in everyday world. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I definitely think I have a lot of thoughts about it, and it's kind of all over the place because I love the connectivity. Like we talked about at the beginning, like the fact that I can reach more people, and then those people are able to interact with the other people within the community and realize they're not alone. And that's a really powerful, powerful thing. And it's really wonderful. And by and large, my community and any interaction I have online is positive. Yeah. Everybody's super supportive and loving. But there are going to be people who are like, I didn't like that you said this, or why'd you use this word? Or, you know, and that kind of feedback, I think, from a creative perspective can be difficult but necessary to hear. So I think when it comes to putting yourself online and just being on social media, there's always going to be jerks and trolls. But I think by and large, if we put positive out there and we're careful about who we follow and who we interact with, we can make it a loving place. It's like anything. It's like what you look for, what you seek, you're going to find. So I always encourage my viewers, like, be very cautious about who you follow. Like if I even personally find myself, because Instagram is like one of my favorite places to hang out, like as a regular non-therapist person. And so I'll spend time in there. But if I find myself watching someone who's like always talking negatively or putting people down, or it's causing me even that comparison factor where I'm like, why is she on vacation in Bora Bora and my life is so boring? Like, then I might mute those people for a while or unfollow. Yeah. I can always come back around, but it might just not be good for me at the time. And that's nothing against them. Yeah. That's just me protecting myself. And I think the more we're aware of what we digest online, I think the better we all can feel.
And how about, so, and I feel like you're exactly right. Like that resonates, you know, for like for me and Nicole and people that are influencers and do put themselves out there. But how about, like, let's say the teenager, you know, that's on social media that maybe hasn't developed that tough skin, right, to be able to hear negative stuff or online bullying or anything like that. I mean, what do you think for that? I mean, obviously you have to grow, but at the same time, how much do you protect them from that? And do you feel like that hurts their development, like just being out there like that, because everything is so public now? Just
like, because when I went to prom, Instagram wasn't a thing, right? So you get ready and you only see there's like 60 people in my class. So you see like 30 girls and you're just like comparing yourself kind of to the 30 girls that you all know and you love. But then now I feel like prom is so much bigger because that dress and everything is going to be compared to
one photo, one perfect photo.
How many? Like thousands, hundreds of thousands
millions,
of people.
Yeah.
And so I just feel like when I think about that, it has to kind of change how you grow up and what you want to wear and that
say. And
I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it is definitely difficult, and I agree with you. I actually just was interviewed for an article about prom and it being stressful. And it's funny because I had to think, I mean, I'm 35, so I was like, dig deep. When was that? What was that like? And we didn't have Instagram, and thank God, because like, imagine also if you didn't have enough money, like comparing yourself to people buying like $1,000 dress or something ridiculous, you know? I mean, we all know those people online. They're like, oh, swipe up for my boots. And it's like $800. I'm like, sorry, that's not reasonable. Yeah. And I think when it comes to teenagers, first of all, we can't stop them. And the more we try, the more they're going to revolt if you're a parent. But I think it's all about having conversations with your children and letting them know that like, that's not always real life. Like I gave a talk at a high school. I think it was last year actually, telling them that like, as someone on social media and having friends who are very active and they get sent all these gifts and stuff to show, they don't always get to keep that stuff. And that's not real life. They didn't pay for it. Like trying to help them understand the landscape can kind of put things in perspective. But also just extracurricular activities, interacting with people in real life is really important just for building a healthy confidence, because teenage years are hard enough as it is. And so the more time I think children spend with other teens their own age, they can build real relationships, real confidence, real understanding, and have, you know, kind of what we as adults hopefully have is when we look at that, you're like, oh yeah, but like, I know she's working and that's not relaxation. She just took a bunch of photos and because she has to post for this, and like kind of the greater understanding of life where you're like, yeah, that's her life choice and this is what she's doing and I can be happy for her and also be happy for me. And, you know, but it all comes down to like how we talk to ourselves about it and what we allow ourselves to digest. And so I do think that in school, probably in middle school, they need to start like communicating more, educating children more on social media and how to interact, because things cannot be deleted. Once you put something out, it can live in perpetuity. If someone else shares it, if someone saves it to their computer, like my life would have been ruined. Do you know what I mean?
That's what Victor brings that up a lot. He's just like, it was a slap on the wrist, like when he was growing up and just like, don't do that again or don't say that. But now it could just go viral with like one click and you can't delete it.
Yeah, and it's one Snapchat, you know, you say a stupid, ignorant comment or you act really rude or Lord only knows. And I think that like having that conversation with children is actually a great book. A friend of mine put out, her name is Mindy McKnight. She has a YouTube channel called Cute Girls Hairstyles. She has 6 kids and her and her husband are very active online, and so are their children. And it's called Viral Parenting. And she talks about like all of this and how do you communicate this and what are ways that you monitor it? How do you talk to them if things are going wrong? How do you let them know that things can't be deleted? And I think we're just all constantly learning. But again, kind of back to like the therapist side is just keep communicating about it so that we can all get better.
Yeah, for sure. And I totally agree with you.
Something I'm really excited to share with the listeners is these really cool shoes from Rothy's that are made out of plastic water bottles.
It's bizarre because you really can't tell that they're made from plastic. I mean, I would never know if you didn't tell me.
They're crazy comfortable. They're machine washable. They have over 1,000 perfect reviews. So if that's something you want to read up on, they can work for professional attire. They can work for yoga pants. I went with the Point Big Cat, which is like a cheetah print. They come with rounded toe. They come in sneakers. They come in, a couple loafers.
All types of styles. It's kind of crazy, actually.
Yeah, and they're really cute to where I would just buy them and not even know they're made out of plastic, which is even more of an incentive to buy them.
Yeah.
Anyways, if you are interested in trying these shoes, go to rothys.com/Coco to get your new favorite flats. They're comfortable, they're stylish, they're sustainable. They're shoes you've been waiting for. Head to rothys.com/COCO today.
Yeah, and you'll be saving the environment, so it makes you feel good.
And now moving off of social media, I wanted to know like your thoughts on just bullying in general. You know, there's like that online stuff, but then there's like that real life in school, you know, people picking on each other. And it's sad because, you know, I don't know if it's just because information travels faster and there's more availability of information, but you see all the time, you know, kids committing suicide, and it's so sad because of a bullying incident or
that their parents might not even know about.
Exactly. And so, I mean, I just want to know your thoughts on that and how you think the best way to deal with something like that. Because I know as a wanting to be a future parent, if I ever heard about that, there's no positive way that I would be handling that going to the school. And you know what I mean? Like, I'd be wanting to go beat up somebody's parent. You know what I mean? Like,
of course.
And I know that's like the most bad way, but like, how do we how does that affect the child and at that time? And how do we, try to help him fix those situations?
Yeah, first is just communicating with your child and noticing if things are changing. Obviously, kids can be teenagers and they do change, right? Like hormones can make us crazy. It's real and it happens. But I think checking in with your child and trying to cultivate a healthy parent-child relationship, not I know better, don't do this kind of thing. It's like more open and communication. Like, I think the best thing you can do is just ask kids about stuff like that. I think parents are afraid to say things or ask. Like, also, like with suicide, you can say like, have you ever thought about killing yourself? Like, that's not going to cause it. I know people like are scared because they're like, oh, I'm going to give them an idea. No. Like, if we think about it for a second, I'm assuming all three of us are not suicidal. If someone said to you, was like, are you suicidal? You'd be like, no. And that wouldn't create it in you.
Right.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's like a word that people avoid saying. Like,
exactly. And I think the more we talk about it.
It's like a taboo word. Yeah.
Like people are scared. And I think instead of being scared, we kind of have to lean in and be okay asking. And it's okay to ask your child if they are having a tough time with bullying at school. But I think with children too, like something for any listener out there, anybody, is if you are being bullied, I know this is going to sound terrible, do not block them online. Keep all of the evidence, because I know it's horrible, but like, you want to block them because you're like, they're a dirtbag, go away. But once you block, it deletes all of the comments. So you need to take all the screen grabs. You need to gather all the evidence. You could have a parent or friend do it for you if it's, you don't want to read it. I totally understand that. But you need to keep a file of it. Because if something does happen, let's say a person in school takes it from online to in person and assaults you, it's good to have that history. I know it sounds terrible, but it's like we have to protect ourselves. And obviously telling someone as soon as possible, even if you're an adult, bullying can happen at work or anything, and tell someone right away. Because it's not something we have to tolerate. Bullying always says more about the person who's doing the bullying. And it doesn't have to be a part of life. I think it's something that the more we communicate, the more we deal with it head on, hopefully the less likely it is to happen.
And is that part of, is dealing with that stuff, like bullying and any other type of, is that part of your dialectical therapy stuff, or is that different, more like for like depression or I don't know. I was trying to look up.
Bullying. Oh, no, you're fine. I think bullying's more like just relationships. How do you manage difficult relationships? But DBT, just to give you a little background on what dialectical behavior therapy is, it's really, I don't want to get too in the weeds of it, but it's like cognitive behavioral therapy. CBT is like one of the godfather types of therapy. It's the one that we can actually test and get numbers and see that people are doing better. So everybody, like, especially socialized systems. Like I said, my husband's from Canada, so it's like Canadian mental health care always pushes for CBT because they can test it and they can tell it's having an impact. And it focuses on like that our thoughts, what we believe about ourselves becomes our thoughts and then becomes our actions. And we kind of go in this circle. And DBT takes that and then adds in a little bit of mindfulness. So like, hey, if I'm more aware of how I feel or how my body is, what emotions I'm experiencing in my body, then maybe I can use some emotion regulation tactics to slow down my impulse to be angry or to lash out. Or to self-sabotage or medicate or whatever. And so that's kind of how that works. And it works best a lot with people who have borderline personality disorder or eating disorder patients. Honestly, any of us, really. We all need a little emotion regulation. Let's be honest.
No, you're absolutely right. No, that's interesting. That's interesting. I was looking at that and I didn't quite understand it. So thank you for that.
Yeah, it's not something people really talk about. It's another one of those things that like people just don't let you know what that means. So how would you know if you went into a therapist and they're like, oh yeah, I do DBT? Most people will be like, and then they're like, what the heck does that mean?
And to piggyback on the topic of suicide that we were talking about earlier, is that something that has it been more prominent, or is it just out in the information more that you can readily see it? You know what I mean? Or is that something that you're not sure of? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like with everything, not to like generalize it to all issues, but I feel like because social media connects us, things that never had visibility are now more visible.
Yeah.
Like for a totally random example, about 4 years ago, I went up to northern Scotland to talk at a youth. It's like kind of like a YMCA, but it's like a youth center.
Okay.
And one of the women there, she was like an older woman, probably in her 50s or 60s. And she came up to me afterwards and was like, oh my goodness, I've struggled with self-harm since I was a kid. And she's like, but I just never had a word for it. And I never knew what it was. And she's like, your videos have really helped. And that's someone who arguably had been doing that back before it was quote unquote visible or talked about, you know?
Yeah.
And so I don't really think that, I mean, they have talked about how millennials have higher anxiety and depression rates. And I think that social media, the bad parts of it can lead to that. But I think we're also just talking about it more. People who normally would pretend things are okay are fine now saying that, no, I'm not okay. And so I like to think of that as a positive thing because it means more people are just talking about stuff, and we should be, you know?
Yeah. It makes it less of a taboo, weird, like I'm messed up, opposed to like, no, this is something that we can all help each other with. And so the more we talk about it, the more help we can get.
Yeah,
exactly. It's much more common than we think. I mean, 1 in 5 are affected globally by mental illness. So that means all of us know somebody.
Oh, wow. Yeah. That's a large number. If you put that in perspective. Wow. Yeah. And I kind of like skipped over. I want to circle back
to relationships.
Yes, because I kind of went on a tangent. That's my fault.
No, that was good.
Went down a little rabbit hole, but it was a very interesting rabbit hole.
Yeah.
And it just in general, I know you're talking about, you know, you have to work on your inside, right? Like your inner self, and then to better your outer self with other people. So in that case, is any relationship then fixable? You know, like if you started a relationship and there was something there and then next thing you know, it's like, it's not there anymore. Is that something where you should just part ways, or is it fixable?
I mean, relationships can be fixable if, and this is the big if both parties want to work on it. Because I think the problem that a lot of people get into is that they want a relationship more than the other person is willing to work on it.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we can't make other people change. Like, I hear from a lot of my viewers, they have issues with either dating relationships or even their parents. And they'll ask a question and they're like, you know, I just received this one. This is kind of why it's in front of mind. But this person asked the question, she's like, hey, I know that my mom has some like mental health issues. Like, I think she might have some narcissistic tendencies, but I really want to improve my relationship. How can I get her to listen to me and to, you know, to be a better mother, essentially? And unfortunately, I had to write back and say, like, you know, you can try your best to engage in a way that's healthy and helpful for you, but your mom has to reciprocate.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh, that's tough.
And we know that. I mean, if you really think about it, we all know that. But how often do we think, well, can't I just make them think better about themselves? Like, I know they're just having a hard time. Like, we always assume that if we do something enough, we can change them. We can help them see. We can make them be motivated to do better. And we just can't. Even a parent to a child. We're still all humans. We have our own free will. And if they don't want to make it better, it won't get better.
And
but go ahead. Yeah.
Oh, and I was thinking that's kind of how people, like, say maybe you have a breakup and you're like, they're not trying, but you really want it to work. And that person might fall into the same thing over and over again because maybe once it reaches a point, they're just not willing to like get a little bit further. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
Totally.
I was curious if that, because I mean, some people blame it on like, oh, they're too young or they're too this, but then sometimes it can be, 5-10 years and they're still, maybe
trying to fix that person.
Yeah, maybe they're just trying to fix that person or make them, like you said, make them see like they'll lose weight or they'll do more work around the house or they'll do all these things and it might get better for a little bit, but then it always goes back to the same thing.
Yeah, because if there's not actual change happening, just because one person changes doesn't fix the dynamic of the relationship.
Yeah.
And it is hard. I know that's a hard thing. Like, I always tell people that we talk about grieving a lot when it comes to someone dying, but we don't talk about it enough when it comes to relationships ending. And I think people, instead of grieving it, they live in that denial phase of grief for a really long time.
Yeah.
And then they like bargain, right? If you think about the stages of grief, not that they go in order and they're not the end all be all, but they go through this. First they're angry, then they bargain, and then they do this the denial. We kind of hop around instead of just letting ourselves feel the loss and be like, I really dreamt and believed that this could be a good thing. Because the thing about relationships that I think people don't talk about enough either is the fact that, like, we dream a dream of what it's going to be, especially if we're the one that didn't end the relationship. We thought we would get married or move in together or have children or do whatever, travel the world.
Yeah.
And you had all these little dreams that you kind of need to give yourself time to feel and to grieve. Mm-hmm. And I think that's what people should focus their time on instead of like, but although we can get better, and I always want to tell people you can improve, but you both have to. And if the other person isn't giving you any indication of wanting to change, because it's never just one person that's wrong in a relationship either, by the way.
Yeah.
Is like therapy something that you should do if even you think your relationship's good and healthy, there's benefits to it?
Yeah, I definitely think so. I think it gives you kind of a mediator so you can learn some communication tips and tools before it's bad. I think honestly couples have all wait way too long to get into therapy.
They wait till it's bad to try to fix it.
Totally. And 9 times out of 10, and this is no dog on us women, but when they come in, at least in my experience, we as women talk the whole time. And the man will just sit there like almost looking guilty or like, I just have to like, white knuckle through this. Like I told her I'd try. And it's just so uncomfortable. And I always ask them, like when I don't see a ton of couples, I do mostly individual work. But when I have a couple, the first question I ask is, whose idea was it to make this appointment? And how did you agree right away or did you have to be persuaded? And then I want to say, when did this start? Because it's probably been years.
Yeah.
And I think that's the thing that a lot of people think about therapy is that we have to wait till it's really terrible. But it's actually better, just like catching a cold. If you kind of feel a little sick and you sleep more, you drink water, you might not actually catch a full cold.
Yeah. That's true.
And you have to think of our mental health just the same. So if our relationship is deteriorating a little bit, like especially if you're in a committed relationship, if you haven't had sex in a few weeks and you normally would, if you're nitpicking at each other, if you're irritated at everything they do, you should probably talk to somebody. Don't wait till there's a screaming match and you think you might want them to move out. Like, let's do it a little bit before that.
Yeah, that makes sense.
That does make sense. And I guess if there was a list of like, I don't know, like 5 things that you'd say would be like key for a healthy relationship, like a dating relationship, like a couple's relationship, what do you think those, or, whatever amount of things that you have on your list would be, what do you think those would be?
Yeah, I think it'd be mutual respect because I feel like a lot comes out of that. Clear communication, making time for communication. And then, I guess the last, I'd really just keep it to these 3. I think the last one would be, like, I don't even know how to describe it, but have you heard of the 5 love languages?
Yeah.
Yeah, Nicole.
Yeah. I love those. Those are great. And I think that's kind of the third component is like speaking to your partner in a language they can hear. Because it's kind of, communication can be lost on them. If you're communicating love in one of the languages, they don't receive it. So like,
that's true.
If you don't know what the 5 love languages are, it's like doing things. It's like words of affirmation. I don't know if I'll know these all right off the top of my head, but like words of affirmation, physical touch, shared activities, acts of service. What's the last one? Gifts.
Gifts. Yeah.
Gifts. That's not mine. That's why I always forget it.
That's not mine either. Like mine's spending time with them. And
me too. Quality time.
Yeah, and Vic, yours is what is yours?
Is it the words of
affirmation?
Words of affirmation.
Yeah, he loves to hear like good things.
Yeah.
Same. My husband's the same.
Yeah,
and I think it's kind of those are good things to know because it's like you're trying to express love to them through gift giving. Like if Sean was like buying me, I don't know, fancy things, I'd just be like, why are you spending that money? Like it would bother me more. It'd be more stress than actual nice things. And I think that like, it's like speaking Chinese when they only, speak, I don't know, Spanish.
Yeah.
So I think those are really the 3 components of relationships that can keep them healthy. Is just like, having respect, communicating to them directly and clearly, and speaking their language.
Okay. I'll make sure to keep that in mind, Nicole. I got you, babe. I got you.
And last, to kind of end on a wrap up high note, I want to get your take on just like fulfillment and like happiness, right? And what do you think somebody should be doing, to get that wholeness? Because, I listen to Dax Shepard podcast, Armchair Expert, and constantly he likes to talk to people with money to kind of reiterate the fact that money has not been the root of happiness for pretty much anyone in the history of any time, So what do you think can help somebody find that happiness or fulfillment?
Yeah, just really quickly, there was actually a study that came out, I forget, a few years ago, where they tested or they surveyed people who were in poverty, not making much money, then people who were just paying their bills and could take a few vacations but weren't wealthy, and then really super wealthy people. And what they found is that the people who could just pay their bills and take a modest vacation every year were actually the happiest. Because again, back to the Maslow's hierarchy of needs, if our needs are met, we can pay our bills. That's actually really the only service that money offers. It doesn't give us any happiness. It gives us stability. Yeah. And that instability causes extra stress, and then having too much of it actually causes extra stress.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know that life, but maybe one day I will.
No, I think I heard something like that too. Something around if you 80 grand is 80 about 80 to 100 is about the cutoff point where there's not much change in your happiness from there on, because at that point, like you said, you can fulfill all your bills and anything that comes up, it's fine. And so it's just the relief of stress, and after that, it's not really a big difference.
Exactly. I think it's kind of important for people to remember that. But to really answer your question about fulfillment, I think that a lot of us work a job to pay the bills and just to work a job. We have to have a job. And I think that that's fine. And there's no shame in just having a job to pay your bills. But I do think that there's a really important piece to life that is doing things that it's not about money. It's not about clout. It's just, it makes us feel good.
Yeah.
Not to do Marie Kondo anything, but it sparks joy.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that because people are so focused on quote unquote success, making a ton of money, I think instead shifting our perception and our focus to be more about what makes me feel good. Because I mean, I'll be honest, for many years, I made way more money working in the hospital than I did as a YouTuber. It was just a matter of the fact that YouTube has never really been that big of an income for me. It's more of I don't know, it's something I do because I like to. Yeah. It's fulfilling. And I would never have given that up, even though it didn't make money and it took a lot of time. Yeah. It gave me purpose. And so everyone is put on this earth with a purpose. We just have to figure out what it is. It could be gardening. It could be, I don't know, volunteering somewhere. It could be spending time with your friends. It could be any number of things. But I think looking outside of yourself and into other relationships, other experiences, I would encourage people to find something that brings them joy, that they look forward to doing, and making time for that. Because we're always going to have to work. There's always a job to be done. There's always money to be made. But back to the research we know, it doesn't actually make us feel that much better. So make time for the things that feel good to you. And I think you'll see your mood improve.
Yeah. No, you're absolutely right. And as someone that seemingly has found her, purpose and is fulfilled, how does that feel? Because it honestly I bet it doesn't feel like a job to you, right? It's just something you do because you like to do.
Yeah, it's true. And I mean, people always say if you love what you do, you don't work a day in your life. I still work sometimes. Sometimes I don't want to get up because I'm I just want to be lazy today. Yeah. But because I work for myself, I can do that sometimes. And so I do, because burnout is real. I've talked about that on my channel and stuff like that. But I think sometimes we just have to let ourselves absorb what's going on and how we feel. And that's what I'm trying to do now, is just feel the fact that I love it, and it's positive, and I get notes from people who I've helped around the world, and that's amazing. And I don't want to take it for granted, Yeah. And I think all of us kind of need to spend some time, instead of looking for the next thing, being in the moment and being grateful that it exists.
Yeah.
Because thank God for social media and YouTube and otherwise I wouldn't have even known that this was a thing I could do. Yeah, I mean, I'm grateful that Sean encouraged me to put out that video, even though it's super awkward, back in 2011. And yeah, challenged me kind of out of my comfort zone. And it's been great ever since, really.
Well, that's awesome. And we're really happy for you. And we really appreciate you coming onto our podcast and sharing.
What's your YouTube channel called?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it's just my name, Katie Morton. So it's KATIMORTON.
Okay, and your book is called Are You Okay? Is that right?
Yep.
Okay.
Exactly.
Okay.
And people can just find you as Katie Morton on Instagram, I believe.
Yeah, all socials. Yeah,
all
they
socials.
can find me.
Well, perfect. Well, again, thank you so much. We really appreciate you letting us pick your brain.
Yeah, that was good.
Of course. Thanks for having me.
Super interesting. Wish you the best, and we'll talk soon.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. You too as well. Take care.
Thanks.
Take care. We hope you guys enjoyed that as much as we did. Learned something new about ourselves, I think, right?
Yeah. I was like having an anxiety attack during that interview.
Well, you
So
pushed through
just
it,
in
and you
case
did
I acted
well.
a little odd, that's why.
I don't think you acted odd.
No, but I'm just saying, like, sometimes when I am in interviews, I black out or get bad anxiety. And so I act weird.
But you did. I think you did a good job.
I never do if it's just me and you talking. But I'm just saying, if sometimes people probably feel that way sometimes too.
Yeah, maybe. You never know. So now, Nicole, you have a Weird or Normal for us.
Well, your Spanish word of the day's first, I thought.
Okay. Spanish word of the day. All right. Are you ready for this?
I'm ready.
Are you going to get it?
Yes.
Well, we need to phone a friend.
No.
The Spanish word of the day is comprometida. Comprometida. Or it can be comprometido. Guy and girl. Comprometida.
So that means it means it's describing a person, because if I can change it to girl or boy, right?
Yeah. Yep.
So
But it's not like descriptive, like tall,
it's
short,
not an adjective?
nothing like that. I mean, no, not really. No, it's not an adjective. Is it an adjective? I don't think it's an adjective, no.
Can you say it again?
It is an adjective. Comprometida.
Say it faster.
Comprometida. Comprometida. How you would pronounce that.
Okay, comprometida.
Engaged.
Oh.
Yeah, engaged.
I would not have gotten that.
Yeah.
Dang it.
Yo soy comprometido. Tú eres comprometida. So, yeah, that one, put that in your vocabulary list of things that you now know, even though I think you've forgotten all the other ones that we've done.
Yeah.
So, there's that. It's like when people take Spanish in high school.
And in college. And get A's.
And they're like, yeah, I took Spanish in high school, but I don't remember anything.
You whip out words that are not quite...
Well, no. It's not that. I understand why people don't retain it is because you don't use it, right?
Yeah,
if you were to learn it and then you started speaking it every day. As a matter of fact, if you never learned it and then you're just around people that speak Spanish all the time.
You're better off.
And you have no English, then you would for 100% have to learn it. So,
yeah.
Anyway, so now hit us with the Weird or Normal.
Okay, well, this is kind of like a Weird or Normal, but is for toilet paper. Over or under?
Over. Actually, under.
Under.
I like under, just the way it rolls on the backside. For me, it just looks a little bit more tidy.
I'm an under person, too.
You are.
But the thing is... I switch, because if it's under, that means I'm feeling like an underdog, and I feel like the underdog always prevails. And if it's over, that means I'm like feeling real good.
So is it like the type of...
Yeah, it goes based on my feelings.
No, I was going to say, is it the type of bowel movement you're having that day?
No.
Where it's like an underdog and you really can't get it out?
No.
Or it's like over because it's really easy and,
No.
More in-depth to this toilet paper thing is I don't understand why people buy like the single-ply starch
for their plumbing system.
I don't like it. And this is directed towards you, Nicole.
Okay, I hated it too in college. Mariah would buy this really thin Scott toilet paper, and I'm like, oh, I hate this toilet paper. I grew up on Angel Soft. Well, it lasts a lot longer. You just take a little bit more, and it helps ever since I had to have my septic pumped out.
It was needed to be pumped out because we moved into a house.
Oh, but our toilet backed up one time.
Yeah, but that had nothing to do with the toilet paper.
But I wasn't sure.
Okay, all I know is, and I can't, okay, I'm not the one that goes to the grocery store to buy it, right? So I get it.
Yeah, it's not your money.
It is, though. It is. But at the same time, my anus does not appreciate.
Stop. I buy you wet wipes.
I know, but you can't. If anything, the argument would be made that those wet wipes are even worse than just having better toilet paper.
Well, you're not supposed to put them down the toilet.
Yeah, 100% you are.
You are, but you're not supposed to in this household.
What? That doesn't even make sense.
Because you're going to make it or sewer or whatever, septic
Okay,
bad.
so one, you're only supposed to really use like 1 or 2 wet wipes anytime you use them. And then 2, I don't understand.
You don't flush baby wipes down the toilet. You throw them away.
Yeah, but baby wipes are meant for babies. And you just like kind of put it in a diaper and throw it away.
I get what you're saying, but as I've gotten older, I've gotten more...
Your anus has gotten a lot more tough?
No.
And so you can abuse it more?
No, I've gotten more knowledgeable and respectful of the water systems, and I feel like the more crap we put down the toilet, the worse, not like crap as in crap, but crap as in stuff that shouldn't be there, that's got to be filtered out. Okay?
Yeah, but it's all supposed to break down regardless.
I don't think it does.
I think it does. I'm just saying...
I mean, there's a lot of places I walk in and it's like, please no paper products or feminine products down the toilet.
Okay, but that's different. That is a whole thing of... it's a tampon that they don't want you to put down there, 1. And 2, when they say paper products, they're talking about the paper towels. And because those don't break down for the septic.
Yeah.
And I get that. I'm just saying, especially when I have a guest over.
Yeah, I like
when
to
we
have good toilet
over.
paper over for our guests. Absolutely.
So you want to treat your guest's anus better than you treat yours.
Exactly. If you notice, in our guest bathroom, I have Angel Soft. In our bathroom, I have Scott's.
Yeah, I don't understand that.
Because
why can't we
I
just
will
have
suffer,
one?
but they do not need to.
That is no bueno. I don't know.
Well, I'm done buying Scott's because I got kind of sick of it too.
Yeah. So you're agreeing with me?
Yeah, I'm agreeing with you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
But I just think we need to be careful with what we kind of flush down because then I got like a plumber bill and everything else.
Totally understand that. And you're making it seem like we're dropping bombs over here.
You do.
And we know.
It's on the walls.
Oh my gosh. What are you talking about? Why are you lying right now?
It's on the ceiling.
Why are you lying right now? This is so, and I was just about to say I was happy that we were able to dish this out right here and come to an agreement. And now you're saying things that aren't even true.
Do you clean the walls? Do you clean the toilets? Do you know what has made its way onto where?
Yes, I do.
No, you don't.
Yes, I do.
No, you don't.
You are taking a step too far over the line right now.
That's what you get. That's what you get.
I did not do anything to deserve it. Anyways, back on track. Okay. I think that our listeners are so amazing. And Nicole agreed with me. And Nicole agreed so much that she said we should do something special for them, for our listeners.
Yeah.
Right. And what is that? What do you want to do?
I want to give away a Keurig.
She wants to give away a Keurig. Mm-hmm. So yes, for the people that are listening, it'll be on our social media. Mm-hmm. We're going to do a giveaway, a Keurig giveaway, and we're just going to send it directly to your house.
Yeah.
For you, for being awesome.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, somebody will win. The post will have, I guess,
it'll have the details that you need, for
this
the requirements. This has not been set
up yet. But
this is just us telling you now that we love you guys so much, mm-hmm. and we want to give something back to you guys. And it's nothing crazy, but it's something. And speaking of which, this will segue us in to our reviews.
Oh, yeah.
Because as much as we love you and we want to give back, this is the reason, the reviews are the reason why we keep doing what we do. This is the best feedback that we get from you guys.
This is why we got so happy and we're like, we're giving away a Keurig today.
Exactly. So thank you guys so much. We love you for it. And Nicole, take it away.
This one's from Mama Plus 2. It's called Just Say Yes, Y'all. 5 stars. I'm new to your podcast, but not new to the two of you. I'm a huge fan of both of you from Big Brother. Y'all might be the cutest podcast ever. The perfect duo for a completely feel-good podcast. I love that Victor is always teaching us something new. And Nicole, you are way funnier than you think. Keep that humble charm and can't wait for y'all to talk more about the wedding plans. Nick, come find me, Robin Gibbs, at Bridals by Lori, so I can help you say yes to the dress.
Oh,
which I have
go.
not gone bridal dress shopping yet.
And I still don't agree with the fact that you said it takes like 9 months.
It does to come in. I'm just like not okay. So for my dress, I am so eager to get something different, and I just feel like they're all the same. So that's kind of why I haven't gone.
If you guys don't know, Nicole wants a dress from the Titanic era that still has
Shush, you don't know what I
old
want.
vintage style to it with a new modern twist.
You don't know what I want.
That maybe has a pearl on it and some sapphire. I don't know. She's
You're not
all
gonna
over the
know.
place.
You're not supposed to know what it looks like, so don't be talking about what you even think.
Well, okay. Funny you say that. And I hope you haven't left the podcast because this opens up a quick conversation that Nicole, is funny that you say that I'm not supposed to see it when who wanted to do first looks and who did not want to do first.
Yeah, I do want to do first looks. We are doing first looks.
So I will see it.
Yes, but not until the day.
Well, I did not.
First look is we get your reaction of you seeing me for the first time. Why do you think it's called first look?
Well, I didn't want to get to see you until you're walking down the aisle, which would have been the first time that I saw
we'll
you, which
change
would be
it.
the first look.
I think it's just... Otherwise, our guests are going to be waiting a lot longer to hang out with us because we're going to be taking photos.
I selfishly say that is our day and that they can wait for us if they love us, right? Because that's what they're there to share the moment with us, not to just go and eat all the food and drink all the alcohol, which is the reason I typically go to a wedding. So, I don't know. Yeah, that bug has been walking around the microphone the whole time.
Why didn't you tell me?
I didn't want to tell you because of that exact, distracting moment.
Okay, go ahead with your review.
Okay. This is from Tiffer349. You two melt my heart. 5 stars. This is the best interview with Nicole Anthony I have heard so far.
Woo, she got a lot done too.
Yeah, you could tell she was at ease talking to Nick and Vic. They make all their guests feel so comfortable. I love the beginning of this podcast so much. It just put me in a good mood when they were talking about the flowers Victor sent Nicole and talked about their love for one another. Aww. You could tell even in the audio that Nicole was smiling as she talked about the flowers. Then she said about their love and relationship. I'm not sure what we're doing, but it's working. And I'm sure, and it sure is for you two right now on so many levels.
Yeah, last week it was. This week, not so much. No, I'm just joking. I'm joking.
It goes hot and cold. It's like a radio wave up and down. No, but thank you guys so much. We really hope you enjoyed this week's episode. Don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe. The easiest way to do that is a little purple app on your phone, which is Apple Podcasts. Yep. You can listen to this podcast anywhere you listen to podcasts right now, and you can also go to Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Play, Stitcher. You can always go to www.cococalientepodcast.com. You can listen there and also check out our merchandise, which Nicole should be coming up with some...
It's already ordered. It takes 3 weeks to come in.
Yeah, so in a few weeks, we'll have more merchandise up with the new logo and everything that we got. It's really neat. And don't forget to follow us on Instagram at Coco Caliente Podcast and at Twitter at Coco Caliente Pod. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you.